Bad endings in video games are a bit of a mixed bag. While games like Infamous 2 or Elden Ring allow the player to influence the course of an entire story or choose from one of many endings, I find that the concept is more often used as a short game over cutscene or a brief alternative ending that bars the player from experiencing an intended final sequence. Even when bad endings are more fleshed out, they often feel like something I only reach for if I have enough interest in a second playthrough, or something I just look up afterwards. But today, I want to talk about a bad ending of sorts that is one of the most impactful moments in its respective game: the voided ending from Void Stranger. Now, if you haven't played Void Stranger, I'm gonna give you a little spoiler warning right here. While Voided is often the first of many endings you can experience, it is also a very cool thing to experience blind, and it has connections to later story beats. So if you have any interest in a 60-hour-long Sokoban puzzle game, feel free to tank my watch time on this one and play it first. Void Stranger is one of the most unique and compelling indie games I've played in a while, so I'm honestly just itching to talk about it in a bit more detail than I was able to in my last indie recommendations video. Let's do a quick lore dump first so this ending actually makes sense. Void Stranger begins with almost zero context as you assume the role of Grey, a mysterious woman who finds a strange scepter in a blocky void and must continue deeper to uncover its secrets. I'm talking a completely wordless opening cutscene and like a couple lines of text that end with "something is wrong." As you explore, you'll occasionally find trees at which to rest, where you'll discover scattered pieces of Grey's backstory, but you're intentionally not given enough to fully understand why she dove into the void. Continuing on will also reveal secrets about the lords who inhabit the void, each with their own brand engraved at the entrance to their domain. Once you reach floor 224, the ending is determined by one of two states: whether or not you are voided. Void Stranger is a challenging puzzle game, and the reason that matters is because there is no undo button, a feature that separates it from most modern Sokobans. This creates quite an oppressive feeling during your time in the void. This isn't just a puzzle game, it is a narrative journey. There are real consequences for failing, and the collectible locusts that can save you from falls are severely limited in number. With how difficult many of the later rooms become, it would be extremely difficult for the average player to pre-solve each puzzle in their head with only a few mistakes. You can repeatedly force quit before each death registers if you want to be stubborn, but you'll eventually be sent to a courtroom by the Void Lords, who observe this method of cheating and will curse you if you plead guilty. Kinda unrelated, but this is such a cool fourth wall breaking detail that really adds to the surreal atmosphere, and it can also happen if you bump into the snake lady's boobs too many times. I definitely didn't figure that one out on my own. Anyway, I say all of this to illustrate that dying on your first run is the intended outcome, but it doesn't mean you have to start from scratch. Upon failing a level with 0 locusts, you'll die and meet a strange floating creature who tests your resolve by asking if you want to continue. The creature explains that while no one can cheat death, eating something inside the void will connect you to it, allowing you to explore freely. Giving up means going all the way back to level 1, which can mean surrendering hours of progress depending on how far you've descended, but continuing seems to have no immediate side effects. You eat a little fruit and hop back in, with the only difference being your health bar replaced by the word void, and one very small other detail. While exploring, you'll occasionally find buried collectibles that can be spent to unlock 7 different memories that foreshadow future events. However, if you become voided, you can no longer see or collect these objects. This is obviously a very minor punishment, as memories are purely optional, but it serves as an early demonstration that connecting with the void means losing oneself. It is erasing Grey's memories, which eventually includes the reason she entered in the first place. Upon entering the voided state, you are free to die and restart levels as many times as you want, but this will also cause you to experience a different ending upon reaching floor 225. The first unsettling moment happens immediately upon entering this floor. All music stops, and as you approach the engraving on the wall, you discover that it is your brand, the file name of sorts that you designed when starting the game. Upon descending to B226, an eerie rising synth kicks off one of the most beautiful songs on the entire soundtrack that the ending is often referred to as Voided. Up until this point, the music of Void Stranger is rather fitting for a monochromatic pixel art game. Bit-crushed title screen swells, aggressive buzzing synthesizers, and charming MIDI instruments for more emotional cutscenes. But then, a little over 30 seconds into this strangely quiet song, clear female vocals enter the mix, and the entire UI overlay at the bottom of the screen is erased and replaced with the song's lyrics.
Out of your reach, and I hold the key.
If this doesn't already raise some concerns about what the hell is going on, every piece of the level design furthers this tone. On B226, you enter the room type usually filled with a statue of a Void Lord, yet there's absolutely nothing there. B227, you open a chest to find it contains nothing. The next floor, is it B228 or somewhere else? Again, nothing in the chest. The floors are almost comically easy to progress compared to the final challenges you just faced. And then, no matter where you are, the screen cuts to black in time with the end of the first verse.
Is mine, my loss is mine.
This still gives me chills, dude. As the game pops back into existence, you'll have somehow progressed around 60 floors deeper to B288, presented with a seemingly innocuous and unsolvable level that acts as the first of many representations of larger ideas within the game's story. In this first room, a mimic, an enemy type that moves opposite to Grey, is positioned on a closed set of stairs for which Grey has the button to open. There's also the strange statue you've seen a few times directly above the stairs, but before you can even begin to process what this might mean, the game cuts to black again in just 4 seconds. Next, you are hundreds of floors deeper at B451 in another unsolvable puzzle with an immovable statue positioned above the stairs again. It was around this point in the voided sequence that I began to feel any control over my situation slip away, as the haunting vocals plunged me further into a state of aimless wandering. It's an extremely smart storytelling decision to have this occur as gameplay rather than a cutscene.
One toss and I'll forever be blind. Toss the key of peace behind.
As the second verse begins, you're thrown into even stranger level layouts, each one containing unsolvable puzzles or bizarre imagery, a square in between two pillars of floor, an inescapable corridor with deadly snakes at each end, and the same demonic statue above every set of stairs. The further these rooms progress, the more they seem to break down. The apparent rules of the world you've been exploring fall apart as wall pieces are rotated incorrectly or placed in between floor tiles. Struggling becomes more and more meaningless as you're thrown back and forth across the void, and the vocals mirror this concept. Following the end of the second verse, multiple detuned pitch-bending synths enter the mix to add even more tension to the atmosphere, before a hauntingly dissonant progression signifies the final descent. Let me just play a bit of it, and then we'll talk.
My
As Gray falls hopelessly into the void, the piano and bass descend chromatically, playing a continuous string of, well, just about every note on the keyboard, stripping away any semblance of the song's intended key to create a hauntingly beautiful crescendo as the vocals chop and distort these lines. To match this descent, the level structure deteriorates completely, haunting rooms of inverted walls, floors, enemies, chests, and stair tiles before transitioning into even more intentional layouts. First, Gray, seemingly floating in the void, surrounded by every monster type in the game. And then, Gray isolated on one of 8 tiles that all seem to have a different meaning. This scene is insane foreshadowing for even later story revelations, and it only lasts a few seconds. And then, in the song's final moments, Gray begins flashing and teleporting across an assortment of shrinking floor tiles that change with every beat of the song until there's nothing left. I can't overstate how incredible this sequence is. The music perfectly blends with the moment and syncs up with gameplay while mirroring its physicality, storyline, and tone to deliver what is meant to be something of a bad ending in such a hauntingly memorable way that it might just be my favorite moment of the entire playthrough. Despite all of it stemming from one choice, when I received the voided ending, I didn't feel like I'd made a mistake, as the very end of the run intentionally provides you with a hint to unlock an unbelievable chain of secrets that flip the entire game on its head. Secrets that add on to an already overflowing desire to see what awaits Gray if she survives. The near inevitability of this bad ending puts it in a different category than your average game over screen, but Gray losing herself to the void and forgetting the precious memories that drove her to explore it in the first place is definitely not a happy ending. I love it when games use their interactive nature to bend the very structure of storytelling. Nier Automata is another game that does this extremely well, using the narrative feeling of an ending to reshape worlds and stories over multiple playthroughs, but maintaining a player's interest through similar content is not an easy task, so it is very impressive to see Void Stranger, this weird little indie game, pull it off so well. And that's about it. Explaining the entirety of this game's lore would take hours upon hours, and I don't even think I really get it all anyway. So let me know if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching, and go play Void Stranger.